character design for this one. Some awesome looks on all the characters. I'm so excited to talk about that. Next up, you guys might know him as, you know, the Weather Wizard, but for our movie, he is the voice of Captain Boomerang, Liam McIntyre. Next up, from Tripoli, we've got Kristen Bauer Van Stratton, and she is Killer Frost. And I just get so excited to introduce this guy because we were on a little show called Geeking Out together. Please welcome Greg Grunberg, also graphic novel writer. I feel like this entrance goes very well with your character in this movie. Very well. Next up, we have Danya Ramirez. She is Scandal Savage. You guys know her from Heroes at Once Upon a Time. Come on out here. And finally joining us, we have Julie Nathanson, who voices Static Shock. You guys know her from Static Shock and the voice of Banshee. And Julie. We have got a very full panel up here with us tonight, and this movie is stocked with tons of characters. So first, I just want to kind of get into it because I heard a little thing that you guys actually had never met until today, the voice actors. You guys hadn't met until today, is that right?
Right.
Right. People know.
Well, not that they know us. Ronnie and I did Heroes together, so we have a little bit.
Yeah, we got a history of being mad guys.
I was lucky enough to get to see the movie early. But how do you guys build such great chemistry not being together and not having that? Because there is such a great chemistry, especially with a group like Suicide Squad.
I leave a tortilla usually, like in the back, every time I leave the room.
That's why I work with you. The tortilla. I think we should talk about these guys down here. We just say the lines, and then when I saw the movie, I was blown away at the chemistry. So I'm like, I didn't even know there were other people in this movie. I thought it was all me. But they really, truly are the geniuses behind it, because we're just saying the lines, and they're guiding us through it, and then they put it together, and it works.
Well, there definitely is a genius and a magic that you guys bring to the movies to get the right cast, to make it look the way it does on the screen for everybody to enjoy. But this one in particular, how did you guys decide what characters were going to be a part of this edition of the Suicide Squad?
Alan and I sat in a room and had a drinking game, and
and that's how it got the R rating.
All the best movies are made that way.
you know, just whoever we decided what the story was and who would fit in it best, and certain characters made more sense than others, and who said we wanted to blow up, and it wasn't an involved process.
Did he pick the cast as well? Whose head would you want to blow up?
No, Wes Gleason picked the cast, so props to Wes, dubious honor.
Wes. For you, Alan, was it the same kind of story writing this that you guys just sat, had some drinks, and you're like, this character, cool, we're done.
Well, one of the things we wanted to do, because, you know, Suicide Squad, there's always a threat of death for any of the characters that are doing stuff on the Suicide Squad. And we wanted the deaths to be a surprise. So we wanted, we think you can't really anticipate who's going to make it through this one. And I hope that comes through.
Well, I want to ask for spoilers and things, but I feel like you guys are going to see it in just a little while, so I'm not going to go spoilers yet to find out who survives, because you guys will know in just a little bit. But I do love the fact, I made the joke, Greg, when you came out here, that just, you know, how you entered the stage fit really well with your character. Your character in particular is really fun and funny. How do you kind of get to that space where you're like, okay, I'm going to go full out and make sure that this character plays as funny as I think it's going to?
Well, first of all, they let me have that freedom to be able to explore that a little bit, which was great. And also what's that?
And the thong.
Yes, I am hung like a mule, all right? I am
In
a
the
stripper.
movie.
I'm a stripper in the movie, guys, come on. Yeah. And,
A lot
and
of
I look
method
like,
acting stuff for you. A lot of like you had to go out there and do a little research in those clubs.
well, I actually recorded my lines in a thong. I want to apologize now for that. But no, I love the fact that my character added some levity and he was over the top and he was having fun with what he was doing. And then he reveals something really, really cool, which you guys will see. I had a blast doing this. And yeah, my character does have a grand entrance. And I don't want to spoil any more.
Can you show us that entrance?
Oh, if there was a pole on stage, I would definitely give you.
Well, lucky for you, right there.
There's a pole.
As it comes down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, was it wrong that we rigged that up for you?
Yeah. Well, that's what I think is so fun about these films as well. You guys get to do so much as actors, but obviously real life, not necessarily your personalities at all. How fun is that for you to delve into these crazy minds of the characters that are part of the Suicide Squad?
I am Australian. I'll just have that known now.
What?
It's basically all Australians are like this, as I'm pretty sure you know. So for me, it was just another day, really.
So you could throw a boomerang.
I mean, I can throw it.
You know what?
The trick is catching it, right?
I've always really thoroughly enjoyed talking to myself, so this is kind of like the same thing. Talk to myself, different character, in front of the mirror, and I do it for people. Pretty cool.
Do the rest of you guys want to jump in and just kind of talk about how you got into the mindset for each character?
Yeah, so it was a very interesting process that I loved. It's a little bit different than being on camera because the script isn't, you don't read it like, I actually didn't know the story and what happens until I watched it this week. And then I had to IMDb who else was in it and then ask who would be here. And then I showed up and I'm like, oh my gosh, Greg, you know. So, and I won't next time. But so it's really fun to go into the booth and just say the dialogue and try to not mess it up and be true to the sarcasm and the killerness, pardon my pun, of the character. And then as the process goes, you know, then you go back a year later and you're doing ADR, which is mainly the physical grunting noises and the fighting stuff. And I get to see what I look like. Some fabulous artist drew me so beautifully, and I get to see what these other fabulous people did. So it's an amazing process that gets better as it goes, actually.
I spend most of my day in that dark room with a microphone in front of my face. And I have to say that the variation that we get to enjoy as voice actors is that variety is so much fun, it's so much play. I don't often get to play characters as deeply dark and core of the earth, gravelly as Silver Banshee, but as a voice actor, I do enjoy using my voice as my power, and you'll find that Silver Banshee does that as well. So I might tap into that, Ash.
Well, and I gotta jump back because just even talking about how the characters actually look on the big screen for this one. Phil, talk a little bit about that because one, I was so excited to see Copperhead. This is the first time we've ever seen Copperhead in an animated film. And two, Harley Quinn looks different in this one. So how do you kind of decide that this is the film you're gonna play a little bit more with each character's look?
Well, I think by the very nature of the characters being villains, you know, and anti-heroes at best, but they're villains. There's a lot more latitude when you sit down to design villains. You know, we do a lot of Batman, we do a lot of Justice League. And with the Justice League, you know, they're fun to draw, they're wonderful to play with, but they're archetypal and they're all kind of cut from the same cloth. So when you get to sit down and do this wider range of silhouettes and more, you know, just sort of separate and distinctive personalities with characters like the Suicide Squad. So you have a lot more room to play. Also, the material hasn't been explored as thoroughly. You know, there haven't been as many takes on these characters, like you mentioned, Copperhead, and that was like, I had never drawn a lot of these guys before, so that was a lot of fun for me, you know, because there's almost no wrong way to do characters like this. You can have, you know, a lot of, you can take a lot of liberties and there's more room to play. I'm really fortunate to work very closely with James. In this, you know, he's a designer as well, and in this instance, I was busy with another project that was overlapping. So he kind of gave me...
Young Justice.
He kind of gave me... James had some initial sketches and concepts of the characters that he wanted me to explore, and so it's always nice to be able to use his stuff as a springboard. And so with characters like Harley and Killer Frost, we worked really closely on those.
Because I'm deeply disturbed and come from a very dark place.
I don't buy it for a second. I don't buy it for a second. For you guys, when you finally do get to see the animated versions of the characters that you voiced a long time ago at this point, because for animation it always seems like there's a pretty big gap from when you guys do the voices to actually seeing the final product. What's it like for each of you guys to see your character come to life?
It's super cool. Exciting. Come on. I mean, for me, I grew up in the Dominican Republic, and so reading comic books was one of the first forms of entertainment that I got really into. Not really watching television. So the cool thing about doing a movie like this is that you don't get to see what it looks like on the screen till much later, but you still have, if you do your research about, for the character, you have the comic books to actually refer back to, and that's all, in my opinion, becomes a part of who that character ends up being in my head. So when I walk into the booth to actually do the voice, I have somewhat of a visual of what the character looks like. So because it's so different to actually see it in an animated version of the actual film. This is the first time for me watching my voice in an animated character, and it was the coolest thing ever.
This is your first? Yeah. Fantastic. I did not know that was your first.
I had a question.
Go for it.
Sorry, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do that.
You get to be the voice-over actor, also the host moderator. It's fine. Just take my job too. It's okay.
Never go and say, oh, does he sound like that? We should change or adjust his character model in any way, or are you just kind of like, we'll make it work?
Yeah, I mean, there is an interplay. I mean, oftentimes we'll want to have a visual for you guys to play off of, right? But sometimes with our production schedules overlapping with different projects, you do your take first. Luckily, James knows what he wants with both the voice acting and the visuals, so he's able to direct us with the same sort of influences.
Sorry, if the way I sound, I should look like that. I should understand I should look that way rather than this way.
And there's also the comic book reference that we have to, respect.
For me, it was interesting because, you guys, again, just let me play and have fun, and then to actually see it. I mean, my character, when you see my character, that's exactly what I see when I look at myself in the mirror. I know it's not real, but that's the problem I have with this. But I was really pleased at how the performance matched up, just because I was playing it just so real and kind of, how I would just make this guy interesting. And it worked. So when I did see how it all came together, I was happy.
And for all of you guys too, I mean, Suicide Squad is such an iconic part of the DC universe. Are there any other characters, or kind of seeing what other actors did with their roles, you're like, man, I wish I could have been that character?
I was so excited to see everybody play their characters. I was like, I don't know if I could have done that. Everybody did such an amazing job, and I think that's what was the coolest part about watching the movie was to see it all come to life. And there's one thing when you read a scene and you're hearing it and you're seeing all the other lines, to actually see how that came to play with how you did your lines. It was just really magical to watch the whole thing.
I actually have notes for every one of them. We'll talk about that later. No, I don't want to share it now. No.
He's not lying. He was telling them all the notes backstage. You walked out here.
It was really your dance moves that really caught my eye.
Dance moves.
Dance moves. He's like, don't worry, we'll talk about this on my podcast.
My tramp stamp. Wait till you see my tramp stamp.
Oh,
it's crazy. I'm like the artist formerly known as Steel Maxi.
It's so hot. It's so hot. It's hot.
You guys are gonna see it, you're gonna start laughing, you're gonna remember this moment.
It's true. It's true. I would say, let's go down the line and see if there's any specific scenes that you guys would be like, make sure you keep eyes out for Easter eggs in that one. But I feel like Greg's just gonna be like, every scene where I'm in it. So it's kind of amazing.
It's the same for Star Wars.
There's Star Wars that you're not in?
There is. Wow. It didn't do very well. The next one's going to do very well. FYI.
Do Do you dance in that one too?
Yes. I don't want to give anything away. I do show my snapback sleeve, if you must know.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Joke I knew it was coming. So I just want to go down the line because I know we can't give away too much because I don't want to give too many big spoilers, but there is a very mystical, magical aspect of this movie. Are each of you guys a skeptic in real life, or are you someone that would be like, yes, I fully believe that that thing could happen or work the way that it does?
Not speaking specifically about that mythical object of which we will not speak.
Not giving
Spoiler.
spoilers of a specific object that might be inspired by some other awesome comic book writing.
I see.
That you guys can go down the line and talk about.
Well, I really do want to believe that I have blades that come out every time I'm going to fight.
Yeah, you got mad at me earlier and it hurt.
Badass.
That's painful.
I believe in it 1,000%, yes.
Oh man, I want to believe that in another universe I'm drawn by Phil for the rest of my eternity. I went to art school, so when I got to be back in there and see what Killer Frost look like, I'm just so impressed with everything that isn't me in this project, and in the sense that it's a huge collaboration, and the actor really, I did feel like I was a very small part. It's this incredible movie. Like, wow, who did this? It's really a big collaboration.
Wait, is Phil's art the magic thing we're not meant to talk about?
Yeah, I'm not answering the question because if I go anywhere near it, I'm afraid I'll give it away.
She's good at not giving spoilers. She's like,
Alright.
oh, well, just
Yeah, I'm still
magically.
not giving a spoiler, but I really do. Maybe I'm a little slow today, but I just had the thought about what the question before, actually.
Great question.
I'll get there.
It worked. It worked. It totally worked.
I want to believe I don't need it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping that it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
The mystical thing was inspired by Gail Simone, the great Gail Simone. And comic book readers will see that. But I'm pretty much a skeptic.
Well, the great thing about this movie is you see each character say they believe one thing, and then their actions show something totally different. And I think that the MacGuffin in the movie that we're not really talking about kind of really is the basic theme of the movie. So you'll see, as for me, I can go either way. I think there's characters that represent both sides of my view on it, so, in particular Bronze Tiger, so just see for yourself and then discuss amongst yourselves afterwards. I'll be drinking.
And he'll be then making another rated R movie while we're having drinks.
Think of the next rated R one too.
All right, guys, I have a couple more questions, but in the meantime, just if you have questions for them, I think there's some microphones for you guys to get behind, because we'll get some quick fan questions right over towards the center. You can see them waving over